Okay, let's move on to Angrier by the Minute in Ann Arbor. And Angrier writes in, can I sue a home inspector who had falsely provided me with an inspection report on the condition of my roof? My realtor gave me his name when my wife and I were buying our home. Now I think they colluded with each other, telling me that the roof was in good condition when in fact it just cost me over $14,000 to replace it. Angrier by the Minute in Ann Arbor.
Well, Angrier by the Minute lives near Not Too Excited in St.
Yeah.
Louis.
Maybe they can get together.
Right. Whoever's watching, we break these questions up. But question number 3, which is this question number 3? Yeah.
Yep.
This is question number 3. So question number 2 talked about somebody in St. Louis. So now we're in Ann Arbor. We're moving east. Okay. I think we're moving east. Anyways, well, this one, I don't know how much time everybody has, but I'm not gonna. This could be like 2 hours. Let me quickly. I'm going to cut to the chase. First of all, a home inspector is limited. Usually, will limit their legal liability to the purchaser of their inspection report to the amount of whatever was paid for their inspection report. So if you paid $400 for the inspection report, there's a contract in that inspection agreement that says, hey, if I make a mistake, if there's a problem, I'm only liable to you for what you paid me to do the home inspection. Okay, that's number 1. And usually it's very limiting, but here's the thing. If it's gross negligence, if there's been like a complete you're negligent, meaning you've completely disregarded the standards of what a home inspection company should do, okay? Gross negligence is like outrageous behavior in that field of home inspecting. So let's pretend this home inspector never even looked at the roof. Let's pretend the home inspector never even went to the home and he just filled it out at home, the report. Okay, that would be gross negligence probably. Sure. For us, okay? So you could sue a home inspector for gross negligence. I've done it and I've prevailed. But normally, like if they make a mistake, they're usually limiting their risk only to what they received as payment for the inspection report. Getting to the issue of collusion between the realtor, by the time you go to court, I mean, you're going to spend a lot more than $14,000 to prove that one, unless you have something concrete, such as like an email from the real estate agent and the home inspector, where they're like, "Hey, how's the roof?" And the home inspector says, "Not good." And the real estate agent says, "You know what? Do me a favor. I'll take you for Dunkin' Donut coffee if you just sign off on that." Well, that would be collusion, and that would be pretty easy to prove. But they're never that easy.
At least a steak dinner.
Right. At least a steak dinner. And it's people who watch this, I've actually had people go, "God damn it, you're always laughing." I'm not laughing at anybody's pain. I just, in my mind, I think of all the different scenarios I have, and then I laugh about some of the stuff that comes out. But here's the thing, it's really hard to prove. So for those people who are watching and you're buying a home for the first time or a second or third time, and you're going to get a home inspector, a home inspector usually doesn't even go on a roof. A home inspector usually isn't even a licensed roofer. A home inspector is a contractor who's comfortable with going into the property, maybe have purchased a franchise, calling itself a home inspector, but there's no real requirement as to what a home inspector needs to know. Okay.
That's what I was going to ask. Is I don't know about nationwide, but in the state of Michigan, to hold yourself out as a home inspector, do you need any sort of certification or licensing or course?
No, but the ones that say that they're a home inspector and a good home inspector are usually people who are licensed contractors who have a lot of years in experience, and they're beyond, I wouldn't say beyond reproach. They're just, they're objective. They're going to take the time to show the prospective homeowner, the buyer, what's going on with the home, etc. Now, I've had cases where to be almost very similar to that, where I've actually had a home inspector who gave a report on the condition of a really nice home on the roof, a slate roof, mind you, but it was during the winter, filled out the report saying that the slate roof was in very good condition. And how did he know? Well,
Right.
he stood on the sidewalk with binoculars and he inspected the roof that way. And then he wrote that he had gone on the roof. Well, that's a lie. Okay.
Right.
That would be like gross negligence. Would it be fraud? Yeah. Again, hard to prove, right? It's definitely negligent, but was his intent to deceive? He still inspected the roof. He just did it with binoculars. Okay. So what do you do when you have, if a home inspector, you're going through a home, if there's any issues that the home inspector raises or they're concerned, just don't take the home inspector's word for it, especially a roof. Get a roofing contractor who's certified to go on the roof and inspect it. And they can tell you, oh, this roof has so many years left, or this roof has an issue by the chimney, or like I've dealt with like mortar issues and stuff like that, and then leaks. A certified roofer will tell you, a licensed roofer will tell you, it'll get you a roofing inspection. That's a better thing to do, spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
The home inspector, they're not, if you ever read them, the reports, and we read a lot of them, because we're in a lot of litigation with people who have been deceived, not
Yes.
by the home inspector, but by homeowners. That's
Yes.
a whole other story.
Yeah.
That keeps us busy every day. But yeah, you need to do a little deeper inspection. If the home inspector goes, gosh, it smells a little musty down here like water, okay, that's kind of an indication that you need to go get like a foundation expert, because if it smells like water, chances are there's water. So take a look at it. Most home inspectors will just put in there, haven't been able to, have no access to any of these areas that might be a concern. Well, if there's a little concern and they don't have access, find somebody who will get you access. Tell the seller, I need access. We've gone, again, completely off point, but these are really important items for people to know. Getting back to the collusion between the realtor and the home inspector, I would never call it collusion, but I will tell you that you should be very concerned as a home buyer about taking the first referral from a realtor for a home inspector. Because why? Home inspectors, there's just kind of like this internal conflict of interest. Sure. It's not intentional. We're in real estate. Real estate moves fast, so you need the right people to get out there. And the buyer doesn't know where to go. Like, oh, I got to go find a home inspector. So what happens? The realtor says, or agent says, hey, use this guy. He's available. I use him all the time. He's quick. He's fast. He's the guy. Okay. Well, that home inspector wants more business from the real estate agent.
Yeah.
So there is this like conflict of interest in a weird way, which is, well, if you're a home inspector, are you going to kill that deal? I'm not attacking the integrity of home inspection companies. I'm just saying it's human nature, right? To like, boy, the sales commission real estate agent who's driven only by commission. I mean, they're there to help, but they're sales driven, sales commission driven. They call the people that they're used to dealing with. The home inspector comes running out because guess what? That realtor hopefully will give him 10 more jobs.
Right.
The home buyer's only getting one time. So it's better for the home buyer if you go and find your own home inspection company.
That's not anything that I've thought about either. It's been several years since we purchased a home with a realtor. But we purchased 2 personal homes with realtors before we got into investing ourselves. And we just used the home inspector 2 different realtors each time, but we just used the person that they recommended.
Yeah.
Like we didn't even think anything of it. Just, okay, we don't know anybody.
Right.
So.
Well, hopefully you didn't have any problems, and most people don't have problems.
No,
when
we
they
didn't.
do arise.
Didn't at all.
Yeah.
No, that's not even anything that I would have thought of. That it is in the best interest of each other, sort of, to just push the deal through, intentionally or unintentionally, So
right.
I never even thought about that. It's very interesting.
I'm just cynical. What can I tell you?
Oh, sure. And the more I get into real estate myself, the more cynical I become as well. And so that's why folks who are watching David and I chuckle so much during these videos. We're not laughing at the people.
No.
Certainly are not. We're just kind of laughing at scenarios, because sometimes they're just laughable. So angrier by the minute in Ann Arbor. What really is the consensus for this person? Is there anything that they can pursue?
I would say, okay, there's one more thing. There's always okay, so then you also have to okay, so let's pretend there's fraud. Let's just for 1 minute, you're gonna have to prove that. Nobody is just gonna go, oh, okay, you're right, I committed fraud, and here's a check for $14,000. That's never gonna happen. Okay, so here's the thing. Think of this. If the roof needs to be replaced completely, what if on the seller's disclosure, the homeowner had said that the roof has only 5 years left, that they put it was a 20-year roof, and it was, 20-year roof, and you got 15 years already used, and they got 5 years left. So what is the buyer entitled to for damages? The entire new roof? The value of the new roof? No. They're only going to get 5 years.
So they'll get like, what is that,
25%? Yeah. You're only going to get the 5 years.
Okay.
Right. So 20%.
Okay.
Of whatever was left over.
Huh.
Okay.
Okay. So this buyer isn't even thinking in terms of pointing it back to the seller. Perhaps it has nothing to do with the inspector or the realtor. Maybe it is non-disclosure.
Oh no! But even if the seller did disclose.
Okay.
5 years left, but the inspector said, "Oh no, it's a good roof," and then it says 5 years left. Maybe people do not look at stuff. He's only entitled to the value of the economic value of that roof that was left at the time.
Okay.
So if there's 5 years left, it's a 20-year roof, and let's say it costs, let's pretend $20,000, you only get 20%, right?
So maybe that's a matter of opinion. Maybe that's a matter of opinion. 5 years left on the roof. That's a good roof, in my opinion.
Right. So here's the thing. What's 25% of 14,000? Well, 10% of 14,000. I'm going to do math.
3,500. Right.
Yeah. So there you go.
3,500.
Okay. That's really what you're going to be entitled to. So a good attorney is going to say, wait a minute. You're not going after the 14,000. You don't even have those damages. Here's what you got. And if you want to go to court and sue, there's a law of diminishing return. The attorney fees are going to eat into your 14,000. And if you think that you might be able to prove that one of the highest, it's the highest standard of proof, which fraud is clear and convincing. Okay, it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. It's in the middle. So clear and convincing evidence that there's fraud. Once you prove that, after all your damages have been eaten up by the process, if you want, you may not ever get attorney fees because you have to now petition a judge to give you attorney fees. And 9 times out of 10, the judges don't do that.
Wow.
Unless it's completely outrageous behavior. So, yeah, go, I would definitely make an attempt to contact the seller, but, if it doesn't happen, go save your money, go pay for a new roof.
Okay.
Wow. It was a hard one. It was long. I'm sorry.
It was.